Hello everyone. Welcome to Sunnyside Community Services. I'm Judy, Zangwill, the Executive Director, and I'm here with Christian Murray, who's the editor and founder of the Sunnyside Post and the larger Queen's Post. And we are hosting and will serve as the moderators. So I can't resist, for those of you who are new, to tell you a bit about Sunnyside Community Services. We engage youth, pre-K through college, to help them achieve their educational and career potential, putting them on a path to self-sufficiency. We partner with working-age adults around family engagement and economic independence, and we provide support for older adults, enabling them to remain in their homes and communities through activities that help them lead active, healthy, independent lives. And one of our overarching goals is to help those we serve navigate systems which can be challenging for the savviest of us, and thereby provide an opportunity for equal access. We do all of this for 16,000 people annually. So, thank you. I would like for all of you to think of Sunnyside Community Services as your community center. Feel free to bring us ideas for programming that you would like to see, and to follow us on social media to attend an event or perhaps sign up for something yourself, a service we provide, or for your family. So, before we begin, I want to remind everyone to be respectful of all the candidates so everyone can hear their answers in full. And we collected many questions in advance, far more than we could accommodate. So you have another opportunity tonight to give us more questions, but you need to submit them before 7 p.m. and you will see people around collecting them. And remember that March 24th is the date for the special election, so please go out and vote. And I'm now going to turn it over to Christian to go over the ground rules.
Thank you, Judy. Again, my name is Christian Murray. I'm the publisher of the Queen's Post, founded 10 years ago as the Sunnyside Post. Now covers 8 neighbourhoods, or there's 8 websites. Last year we got 7 million page views and about a few million unique IP addresses. But anyway, I'm here to discuss the ground rules. I'm just going to sit down. Okay, so to begin with, each candidate is going to have a minute in which to sort of introduce themselves and address the audience. From there, we're going to ask a series of questions, Judy and I. Each candidate will have 60 seconds to respond. If clarification is needed for an answer, we might ask. And if one of the candidates is addressed by another candidate, they'll be given 30 seconds to respond. There will also be a round where each candidate gets to draw a name of another candidate and then ask him or her a question. And there will be a quick yes-no lightning round. And last of all, there will be questions that will be submitted by the audience over the course of the evening. Now, like Judy said, we urge everybody to keep quiet in terms of cheering and what have you, and no yelling from the floor. So, I'm going to pass this off to Judy to kick it off with the intros.
So please, just a reminder, 1 minute each. We have a very friendly but firm timekeeper sitting on the front row. So Costa, we will start with you.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Christian, for hosting this evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Costa Constantinides, and I'm running to be your next Queens Borough president. Because I know that we have to transform and rethink how the borough presidency can help our lives here in Queens. And the three main jobs, whether it's land use and ensuring real affordability and union jobs impacts the land use deals, whether that's the budget, where we can combat climate change with the urgency that we need by solarizing and green roofing every city building in the borough, by investing in our schools with science, STEM, and technology, or ensuring accessibility for all of our public spaces. Or lastly, as your county executive, fighting to be your advocate, whether it's on transit and having an MTA board member, or having a borough-wide transportation plan, or on having satellite offices and making sure reaching out to our diverse communities. I have a plan to improve the lives of Queens residents and work for you. Again, my name is Costa Constantinides. I'm looking forward to the debate this evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening. It's great to be here at Sunnyside Community Services. I want to thank the organization for hosting tonight, as well as the Post, Christian, and Judy, and all of you for being here. My name is Elizabeth Crowley, and I was born and raised in Queens, born the 14th of 15 children, big family. Sadly, my dad passed away when I was only 7. I was raised by a single mom and 10 older sisters who showed me by example that when you help a woman, you help families, and you uplift communities. I studied art restoration in college and went on to work on some of the greatest landmarks in New York City: Radio City Music Hall, Central Synagogue, St. Patrick's Cathedral. And it was there as a union painter that I really found my political voice. And I found out really that I was not alone as a single mom working and trying to make ends meet. My union had members like me, and they encouraged me to run for office when I was elected in my district as the first woman and the first Democrat ever to represent that area.
Good evening, my name is Miranda. I'm running for Queens Borough President. So we have a brief window. I'm a retired sergeant from the New York City Police Department, did 20 years in the police agency, retired chief of police administration and children's services. I live here in Queens with my wife and 3 boys. My middle son is 12 years old, goes to Bell Academy here. And I'm running because we had time that we had to hear a different voice. We had to hear the voices of parents and residents and not political agendas. We had a lot of people speaking and a lot of history here in Queens. Some people with 8 years and 12 years worth of experience. But they say that Queens is great, but Queens is still in need of a tremendous amount of services and help that haven't been heard before. So when we get tired of hearing the same old thing and promises that never come true, we need to start improving our transportation system, our education system, and our areas, and we need to ensure that we have a strong advocate voice. I have 30 years worth of experience in advocating for community rights, and I'm looking forward to being the next borough president.
Good evening. My name is Quinn. I'm a retired assistant DA in the Queens DA's office. I worked there for 42 years as an executive assistant DA. I grew up in Gracewood City housing projects down in Long Island City. I went to public school down in Long Island City in Astoria. Went to Brooklyn Technical High School. I worked my way through college, working as a mailman, a doorman, a clerk, and a cab driver. I went to Columbia University, Fordham Law School. I had married. I had 4 children, 4 grandchildren. I lived in Richmond Hill. I've lived in Queens all my life. Just very briefly, I don't only have a minute to do this, but the main reason that I'm running is because as an assistant DA, I served the people of this county for 42 years. I've seen what happened when the city started to change a lot of the laws, when the city started to decide that they wanted to build a jail and Kew Gardens. And I saw what the bail reform laws did, and released a lot of people into the community who's not in the community. I'm running to turn back those bail laws and stop the closing crime time and the building jails.
Good evening, I'm New York City Councilmember Donovan Richards, and I got my start in politics 17 years ago. I had a friend who was murdered in Southeast Queens, and that's what led me to meeting my local city councilmember at a gun violence meeting. Ended up working for him for 10 years. then elected in 2013. And I think it's very important to speak about our records. Very happy of my successful record in representing the Rockaways in Southeast Queens, a neighborhood that was devastated by Hurricane Sandy. We were on the front lines on climate change. And since then, we've seen a resurgence. We brought home $2.2 billion to ensure that our infrastructure is upgraded, 55 projects slated for Southeast Queens and the Rockaways. We rezoned downtown Far Rockaway, brought home $300 million, which is going to enable us to bring home 1,900 units of affordable housing for seniors, also 300,000 square feet of new retail, $40 million new library. We're bringing home a $94 million new precinct to Queens, the 116th precinct. And also, lastly, as I close, I'm very happy to just have shepherded in a deal that's going to bring 400 jobs back to Queens. The Elmhurst Dairy, formerly known as Elmhurst Dairy, Bartlett Dairy, if you drink Starbucks, they provide all your milk. They are now coming back to Queens, and those are all union jobs, 400 union jobs returning back to Queens County. 50% of those jobs are going to be designated for Queens residents, like minimum. So I'm very happy on my record and ready to get to work day one as your borough president. Thank you.
Good evening. 10 years ago, I stood in this very room as an insurgent candidate for city council running against a machine-backed district leader. We ran a people-backed campaign and won that race. Today, we're back in virtually the same space, running against multiple district leaders, again as an insurgent progressive, asking for your support for borough president. It was also in this room that I gathered over 1,000 Sunnysiders and Woodsiders right after Donald Trump was elected, and we launched the Queens Values Movement. Right after that, we had a march of over 5,000 people over the Queensboro Bridge, because I looked around the borough and we didn't see the leadership. I'm an organizer, and I've organized for the last 10 years and fought on behalf of this community, on behalf of the rights of immigrants, including the undocumented, on behalf of libraries, schools. Every single person in this community deserves to stay here. I'm the only person who took on Governor Cuomo, the only person who endorsed Tiffany Caban for district attorney. If you want an insurgent progressive as the next borough president who's going to change this borough for the better and dismantle the machine, I ask for your vote. Jimmy Van Bramer for Queens Borough President. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is going to be the first formal question, and it's going to be addressed to Elizabeth Crowley. What we're doing is we're going to start, Elizabeth Crowley first, then the next round will be Mr. Miranda, etc. This is it. It has been almost a year since Amazon backed out of coming to Long Island City. Amazon would have created a major tech hub for Western Queens. What do you propose for the 20-acre area around Annabelle Basin? And as borough president, how would you make this happen?
Thank you. That was a very good question. First, I supported Amazon. I support businesses, both big and small, and that those very same benefits that were extended to Amazon, such as wage subsidy benefits, which would help with hiring more employees, we should also extend those benefits to small businesses. Amazon went wrong in not engaging the community, and for the future of that site, we must learn from the mistakes brought on by Amazon and make sure that the community has a strong say in what happens. There must be a good mixed use of not only affordable housing, but also access to the waterfront, good parks, public schools. I know this community, this school district is severely overcrowded. The need is over 3,000 school seats, and the problem of the development that has happened, both in Court Square and even Hunters Point, has not included enough school seats. So certainly making up for the sins of the development of the past should be in the plan for the future.
All right, thank you.
So the Amazon.
Hold it out.
Yeah. The
type of tax incentives they gave to a major corporation when they did need it. And they finally knew that they didn't need it, they came to Manhattan anyway, right? So there was too many tax breaks that were unnecessary. We look at a corporation that has a history of abuses against its employees. But there's no reason we're going to have a non-labor shop here in New York City of that magnitude. The only reason Amazon left and decided not to stay here wasn't because of anything else, because the only clause said that you would have to offer the option of unionizing, and they said no to that, and they took their business elsewhere. The problem with throwing them out was the following. While we did push them out, there was no plan to bring other jobs in. So while everybody was a rush to get them out, there should have been an alternate plan to say, how do we bring more employment and job opportunities to Queens? They talked about 25,000 jobs. Well, that's pretty fast. So this is the bottom line of this. When we talk about business coming in, we need to have a real conversation about the type of jobs, what positions, not just entry level, but manager level and leadership positions, what the salaries are, make sure they're union employment. And the same incentives that we offer big corporations, as I said in all the previous debates, we can offer those same incentives to small businesses and keep them here in the city, keep them here in Queens where they need to be, and we don't have to offer the big corporations. We need to reinforce the base of our community are the small business owners and their ability to employ local residents.
Okay, I supported the Amazon deal. I think a lot of people don't realize is that more than half of the credits or tax incentives that are given to Amazon are available to almost any business in New York State. There are state incentives, there are also city incentives involved in it. People don't realize that part of the plan was also to build schools and park space and open space in addition to the Amazon. The 25,000 jobs that Amazon would have brought into this city would have been phenomenal for this city, both tax-wise and make it a tech hub in the Northeast. The problem that we have in a lot of these large development programs is that the community is not involved. A lot of these things are sprung in the community at a late age, and what happens is the community gets overly sensitive and overly incensed at not being consulted in the first place. And a lot of things become chants and slogans rather than actually sitting down and considering whether this is a benefit to the community, to the state, or to the city as a whole. I pledge that any large projects like that.
All right, I'm sorry.
Let me just start with I was the only elected official in Queens not to sign that letter to bring Amazon here originally, so I just want to say that because it's very important that we speak about records and not blow with the wind. The other thing I'll say that in anything we do in my community, we've always done community vision. So before we talk about what our plans are, just as we've done in the Rockaway, we always start with community visioning. If I was to look at that site, the 3 different things that I would propose, obviously the mixed use is very important. You could look at doing affordable housing, deep affordable housing, because we know gentrification is running rampant in LIC as we speak. The second thing we would look at is park space, but also there's an opportunity when you do density to actually wrap in affordable retail. And I know that's been a challenge right here in this community. So on any project, we should really be looking at the opportunity to do more affordable retail, but that would require us as a former zoning chair of looking at the square footage of what the commercial looks like and minimizing that opportunity. Thank you.
So I'm enormously proud of the work that we all did as a community activists and organizers, opposing what was an unparalleled giveaway to the richest man in the world. Amazon, that deal was a bad deal for Queens. And if you're up on this stage and you're talking about gentrification, and you're talking about the cost of small businesses, and you're talking about schools, it is absolutely insane to have supported HQ2. Because had they come, the absolute tsunami of gentrification would have rolled over Western Queens and moved east, and all of us would have been priced out of Sunnyside, Astoria, Woodside, Jackson Heights. It was a bad deal. It was an incredible moment. Standing up to the richest man in the world, the most powerful corporation in the world. And it is absolutely essential that whatever happens at that site is community-driven and that benefits the community, not The richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos.
What would you like on the side?
Yeah, the mic is.
Do you have a candidate that said mixed use on the slide? What would you?
No.
I said we need, what? Is that working? Is that working?
Yeah.
All right. What I said at the end there before the timer went, is that it's got to be a community-driven and community vision plan, not something that EDC has in mind. So yes, we need to have public land for public use to start off with, right? Public land has got to be for public use. A giant public park has got to be there. And then we can certainly talk about what kind of affordable housing, but it's got to be real, it's got to be meaningful, it's got to work for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm not enough. So honestly, this wasn't a good deal. This was a deal that was going to put families in jeopardy. This was a deal that was going to put our transit system in overload. And there wasn't a plan. This was a giveaway. So I think that moving forward, number one, 100% affordable on city property.
Yes.
Too often we give developers our pie and then they give us a piece of the pie and affordable housing back. But it was our pie to begin with. We need to make sure it's 100% affordable on city property. I have a plan through solarizing and green roof city buildings by transforming Rikers Island into a renewable energy island to create thousands and thousands of good union jobs and having career technical education in our schools to prepare our young people to get those jobs in the 21st century. We need to be, not every kid's going to go to college, but we have to have a real plan in this borough to create sustainable, union good jobs. The union job is a middle class job, and it's an American story job. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of you for cooperating with this tight time frame. We appreciate it. So the second question, which is a related question, many Queens residents feel that they are not being heard when it comes to rezoning and major development. Sunnyside Yards might be the most recent example. So what would you do differently so people will actually feel heard and that their input is valued? We'll start with you.
Again, I think that's the major problem in most of the projects that have been approved recently. There's been very little to no community input, and the voice has never been heard. So as the borough president, before any of that's approved, we will be sure that we have public hearings and invite everybody in. Now, we also found that they had a challenge about communicating with parents about certain issues. We find that hard to believe. In this modern day of communication, we should be able to send information out to ensure that all the information, full disclosure, full opportunity to have discussion both for and against, and have open forums where you can have these. But that has not been the case historically with any decisions that are being made currently. Understand that these decisions are all being signed off by elected officials, and they're not even listening to the community boards. When they say no to a project, they're still approving. Community boards that's supposed to be your voice, and they're still not being heard even at that level. So we're talking about an open process that will allow all community residents, regardless of what neighborhood in Queens is being built, allow them to come in, and the borough president is absolutely in the position to have public hearings and be able to share that information. And full disclosure is extremely important. So that's my time, and thank you.
Yeah, one of the responsibilities and duties of the borough president of Queens County is to hold public hearings. That's in the city charter. A lot of these major programs have been whisked through various state legislatures, city council, or any other type of legislative body without any real community input. Going to the Rikers Island building a jail in Kew Gardens, the community planning board voted almost unanimously against building that jail. Yet the city went along with it and went ahead with it. There are various other programs and projects that the city has done, but they completely ignore the will and the votes of the community planning board. I will make sure that we will hold public hearings on those major projects that the city is trying to get in, even if they prove it over the recommendation of the community planning board. There's no reason why we have to accept what the state legislature, the city legislature imposes on us without us having a real, vibrant, and good say about what's actually done in Queens.
I love speaking because it's very important to look at people's history. And I'm very happy that my rezoning in downtown Far Rockaway was the only rezoning to pass a community board. It unanimously passed the entire city council, partly because we started off the right way with community vision. There were at least 50 community sessions. We pushed the city so far that they were at people's kitchen tables having meetings to discuss the project. So whether people agreed with the project 1,000%, the point was that we did engagement in every corner of our community. That resulted in a $300 million investment. While everybody's losing small businesses, we are growing small businesses. We have 200,000 square feet of new retail coming in. We also wrapped in something called the small business grant, which will go to facades and improvements for current existing small businesses in the Rockaways as well. So they were able to get about 75% of a match from the city, coming up with 25% to improve their facades as well. So that's money that went back to small businesses. So that's what community development looks like, not economic development. Thank you.
So with respect to Sunnyside Yard, I'm very proud to have joined Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez in opposing EDC's vision for the overdevelopment of Sunnyside Yard. We do not support what is currently being planned and what is currently envisioned with the incredible density there. I think long-term overall, we've got to be looking at whether or not the EDC model is the model we should as a city have, where that is what's driving all of these discussions, excluding community land trust and the ability of communities to actually formulate their own plans. It is actually from the community up that these plans need to start coming from, not the Economic Development Corporation, which is essentially the city's development arm. That's who's behind Sunnyside Yard. That's who's behind HQ2. I oppose HQ2. That in and of itself helps all Western Queens remain affordable. We oppose what EDC also has planned for Sunnyside Yard, which will also keep a lot of people in their homes in Western Queens.
Yeah, this is another example of top-down development that shouldn't be happening in the city of New York. Giving away property, city-owned land to luxury developers, and saying again, we're going to give you city land and you're going to give us a piece of the pie back. There is no good plan there. I'm not supportive of giveaways to luxury developers. Whatever does happen there, and I've been living in Queens a long time, and I remember when they talked about putting the Jet Stadium there 20-some years ago. This idea of having a top-down model just doesn't work. It has to be people-driven, it has to be neighborhood-driven, if at all. And we have to think about how do you do anything resilient and sustainable. With sea level rise coming, with communities on the front lines of climate change here in Queens, whatever development we do has to be mindful of that as well. Because we can't just keep building and building without realizing the consequences of what that means to all of us. Not just that development, to all Queens residents. Thank you.
Communities throughout the city need to be heard as it relates to development projects, especially here in Queens. So many of us in Queens feel forgotten, and we're certainly the forgotten borough, especially when you go out further east and you have less transit access. The borough president appoints community boards, and community boards should work hand in hand with the borough president when it comes to significant developments. Some of my colleagues have mentioned how important it is to look at the record of the past. And as a council member, when I served 9 years in the city council, I was known as a reformer, and I worked closely with my community board. And the biggest problem facing the community at that time was the most overcrowded school district. And when I left, we no longer had an overcrowding problem. I also put forth a transit plan where we could build transit access. I think one of the problems that Queens has today is certainly we're too much of a borough relying on cars, which is terrible for our environment. And I'll be able to talk more about that. I'm sorry I'm running out of time.
Thank you. Next question. The Queens County Democratic Party, often referred to as the machine, has gained a terrible reputation for undermining this borough's democracy. Most of you have, however, helped the party. Councillor Constantinides and Crowley were district leaders, while Councillor members Bramer and Richards, he contributed to the Queen's Machine and all machine candidates in 2017 as the speaker race was heating up. Are you people on stage comfortable with the level of involvement in the party? And what would you do to reform or change the Queen's Machine? Now this question is first addressed to Mr. Quinn, and you're not kind of really part of the party, but what are your thoughts on all this?
Well, first of all, I've not been involved in politics for 42 years, since I was with the DA's office. We have very strict guidelines on what we can and cannot do. I've been a Democrat for approximately 11 months or 12 months. I became a Democrat in order to vote for Greg Lasak in the Democratic primary for district attorney. I am very concerned about one-party governance in any form, because what happens is that the party winds up nominating people from the extreme fringes of the party. The district attorney was elected in Queens County with only 10% of registered Democrats voting, and the winning candidates in the primary won 40% of the 10% of the Democratic voters in the county, which means they got 4% of the enrolled Democrats in the county, which means that a very small minority, whether it's the organization or whether it's a very activist minority, can control who the candidates are. And when you have a one-party city, those candidates ultimately become the actual elected officials. And I think that's very dangerous to the city, and it's very dangerous for our politics. And it's also very dangerous for the discussions about particular issues, because they become a chance. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I've been endorsed by the Queens County Democratic Organization, and I'm no stranger to being an insurgent. Obviously, when I came in 2013, I was supported by the Progressive Caucus Alliance, also was the co-chair of the Progressive Caucus of the City Council. And one of the things we've always critiqued the party on is diversity. And I think finally we have now started to see diversity with Congressman Gregory Meeks now rising to now become the chair of the county organization. And something we've certainly pushed the party on, and is something that a lot of people have challenged them on, is the question of diversity, seeing more young people engaged in the process. And therefore, I'm very proud to have been selected as the county organization's candidate for borough president. And we still have a lot of work to make sure that we're extending those arms once again. I don't like to box myself in. I got involved in politics because of the murder of my childhood friend. I'm very proud of my record, and therefore there are a lot of people from all walks of life that have now come forward to support me, including the endorsement of DC 37 just this last week, and I anticipate more unions coming on board as well. So we're trying to unify this borough. I know that there are individuals who want to paint this as a progressive for the establishment, but this is about ensuring that 2.2 million people can thrive in our city, and my record speaks for itself. Thank you.
So I'm just as proud to have never been the machine candidate in any of the races that I've always been an insurgent. I backed the first openly gay man to run for state senate at Cedarville in 1998, before a lot of people even were active in this borough. I ran for city council against a county district leader in 2001, ran again as a county district leader in 2009. I bucked Joe Crowley and supported an insurgent for speaker in 2013. And Donovan and I ran for speaker in 2017 before the county endorsed Corey Johnson. So let me be clear, this borough, no matter what happens in this race, will be better off when the Queens County Democratic machine is done with, right? Absolutely done with. Because all of you are the community, all all of you should decide the future of this town, and everyone should be able to run, and everyone should be able to vote for who they want to, not feel pressure. There's so many things bad and corrupt about the Queen's machine. We've got to end it once and for all.
I'm a former toy store manager. I was, don't laugh. I was a KB Toys manager prior to being coming into politics. I was someone who went to law school and college by thinking about how I can improve the lives of my fellow residents here in Queens and my neighbors. You think about the party. I'm a proud Democrat. I went to do poll watching for Andrew Stewart Cousins in 2006 when there was a fire alarm poll. I've been involved in politics, getting young people involved, getting young lawyers involved, all over the country. And I was endorsed by the Working Families Party and the Queens County Organization in 2013. And in this election, I'm endorsed by UFCW Local 1500 and the Operating Engineers Local 94. I think we have a party that shouldn't be picking winners and losers. By having it more open, by allowing to have an open conversation about who our candidates are, holding forums like this, allowing us to come into the party, be part of a conversation, be part of a, that's it, all right, so having that part of conversation is so important.
Back in August, when I was just considering running and didn't decide yet, I was the first candidate on this stage to say not only was I not seeking the endorsement of the Queens County Democratic Organization, but also I was not seeking the endorsement of the Democratic Socialists of America. I believe, as every one of us sits up here, we're all Democrats, and that when party endorsements happen, it can discourage people from running. We have an open forum here and open debate. But just to let me tell you a little bit about my history. I came into politics and I ran for office as a union member, not somebody who's ruled. I was a painter, and then I went to graduate school for urban planning and architecture. I wanted to make my community a better community. I ran against Republican political forces. There was no Democrat the year I was elected to the city council that wanted the Democratic organization. There was no primary. So it wasn't like I had to be chosen. And then in 2012, I ran for Congress against the Democratic organization. So independent as somebody who runs for office, independent as somebody in office, always running against the political forces.
Thank you.
And I'll talk about that.
So except for Mr. James Quinn here and myself, you can look at the history of all the candidates that are speaking and everybody saying that they're not county now. But they're very much part of county and making all the decisions and agreeing with the positions that county took, and they voted on those positions on a regular basis. While some of them say that they saved their districts, they sold the rest of Queens out. They did protect their areas, but they were not concerned about the rest of Queens. So when you look at this question that we're asking, where are we with this? County politics has been corrupted for a long time. When one district can get 14 schools and other districts can't get any schools, there's a problem with the process. When you have people who are compromised, who are getting their instructions by their donors and by the people who are giving them money, which are the millionaire developers, which you all have read about, then they are no longer representing the community's voice. They're not representing your voice when they are talking to someone else. We are independent candidates, we are all Democrats, and the process is not a good process. They have press conferences about it and everything else. My time is coming now. You need to vote for somebody who's going to have an independent voice that's going to represent all of our community, who's not going to be compromised by any machine or any donors or any other process. Thank you.
I want to remind everyone to be respectful and please don't do anything that's distracting to others. We are encouraging you to vote to express your views. So thank you, we appreciate that. So this is for Donovan Richards. To begin with Donovan Richards, if elected, you will be appointing community board members. There will be many openings, especially as community board 10-term limits go into effect. How will you ensure that the community board membership reflects the diversity of the borough, and furthermore, that the board members you appoint don't just rubber stamp your views?
I mean, we've done Right, so that's something we've already done based on the Queen's Eagle. Many of you might have saw that report. Community Board 13 is actually one of the few community boards that's really reflective of the Borough of Queens. The big challenge we've had with community boards is the outreach efforts. We need to make sure that we are really getting the message out, and I did support term limits for that very reason for community board members very early, because I recognized that there were community boards in my community that didn't even have public housing residents on them, did not have union workers on it, did not have women reflected on the community boards, and we really started to make those changes. But I think one of the things the borough president will be tasked with moving forward is looking at that more aggressively. I think data and reporting equals accountability as well. It should be a report, and I know Melinda did one every few years, but we need to make sure that that report, because I'm a big believer in ensuring that reporting is happening publicly, not just to the community boards, but to the public at large.
Thank you.
We need to ensure that more of that is happening. Accountability can only happen with transparency.
So I think the community boards need to reflect the demographics in the neighborhood. We've got to absolutely make sure that we're making appointments that are consistent with that. Part of the problem is that the borough president hasn't always worked so well with the local council members, where you get to appoint or recommend half, and then the borough president can appoint the other half. And the borough president that we just had didn't always work with the local council members, so you actually didn't get the diversity that you were looking for. I'm proud on CB2, which I once served on, that we have made sure that women of color, younger people, LGBTQ people were represented on Community Board 2. When I served on Community Board 2, I was the only gay person on the board. It's important that the board reflects the community. And to your point of independence, when I've appointed folks, I've never asked them to pledge to vote in accordance with my views. That is not something we should ever demand. People should be appointed to vote their conscience and be free from interference from the elected officials who appoint them.
As part of my plan to have a director of diversity and outreach, I really think the borough president to come out of Queens Boulevard. In Manhattan, they have a satellite office uptown because they recognize that the entire borough shouldn't come down to one Center Street with the services that they need. So by having satellite offices in neighborhoods, by being in our local libraries and public housing, it's about recruiting for our community boards. But in addition to that recruitment, it's having an open and transparent process. So people can apply, we know how they're applying, we're making sure that the community boards reflect the diversity that are in our neighborhoods, because we're Queens. 190 languages spoken here in the borough, and yet too often our community boards don't look like our communities. We need to ensure, through recruitment, by having open and transparent processes, and then evaluation, we can make sure that our community board is more transparent and open. And then, as Judy just talked about, as a council member, I've never told anyone asking for a vote, and we shouldn't. People should be able to vote their conscience and do the things that they feel they need to do to fight for their community. Because we're all part of these neighborhoods together. Thank you very much.
Earlier, I mentioned that I'm one of 15 children. So certainly fighting for fair share was something that was almost a daily occurrence in my household. But also, I have 11 sisters and 3 brothers, raised by a single mom. We always had a strong woman's voice in our house. So it was almost unusual when I got to the workplace as a woman working in construction to have no women there. I worked with an organization called Non-Traditional Employment for Women to help women access careers in construction. But then when I got to the council, it was almost the same thing. There were committees that did not have women, a woman's voice on them. There was government spending happening, billions of dollars, without a woman's perspective. And so I started this organization called 21 in 21 to give women a political voice and encourage them to run for office so that we could have gender equality on the New York City Council. We need women on all boards, local community boards, boards of corporations, and certainly in government. I know that my time is running out, but just to finish it out, when it relates to diversity on community boards, I said earlier, we must have community boards that reflect the diversity of the city, and that includes young people too. And as a council member, I put participatory budgeting in every single classroom in 22 schools in my district so that we can get young people civically engaged and deciding on how to spend city resources. And it's important as a borough president that we continue to have similar types of programs.
So again, I will start with the following. Elected officials that are here, elected officials that represent you are speaking right now, some from different points of view. But the fact of the matter is that if they saw something wrong with the community boards all this time, why wait to this point in time for an election to decide there's something wrong? Why didn't they correct the process? Not just in their district, they have a responsibility for all Queens. If they see some misconduct, discrimination going on, they have the responsibility of changing that. So as Queensborough president, we are going to ensure that there is diversity. You heard here that they like to blame the borough president for having the disparity that has occurred came because of the borough president. I would differ with you. I say the borough president brings diverse people to the position, and they oversee the appointments that are recommended by the city council representatives. And if the city council representatives don't have enough people, or qualified people, then the borough president has a responsibility to send it back, to not accept it. That is the power of the borough president, to be able to have oversight and ensure the diversity and the accountability of those boards. Again, not complaining after the fact, but this is the first time we're running. We see the problem, we want to fix the problem. Other people say they knew about the problem and did nothing about it. I'm challenged when people make that type of presentation.
When I was the executive assistant DA in the Queens DA's office, my deputy executive was a female. I appointed the first African-American woman bureau chief in the Queens DA's office, chief of narcotics crimes. I have two gay bureau chiefs in my division. So I have two gay bureau chiefs in my division, but none of them was appointed because they were African American or gay or women. They were appointed because they were the best people for the job. And that is the role of the borough president, to make sure that the people who are on the planning board are the best people for the job, the most representative of their community. And if it turns out that the community board is completely African American, that's fine, as long as they're doing the best job for the people in that county. You can't sit down and bean count every single community board and decide, well, we need X number of this, X number of this, Y number of this. That can't be done. What should be done is appointing people on the basis of excellence. That's what I did as assistant DA, and that's what I did as borough president.
Councilman Donovan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, quick question.
Okay, sure, I'll
Okay, this is starting with Councilman Bramer. There is a chronic shortage of affordable housing in Queens, as we all know. However, if you look at the affordable housing lotteries, the rent levels of income bands are too high for many people. What can you do to help reduce these levels and make the lotteries more accessible?
So, first I just want to dovetail on what Mr. Quinn said. I just have to take a slight exception because if a board is all white or a male, we would never stand for that, right? I mean, it's a Queens, it's a diverse borough. The boards have to reflect the diversity of the communities that we're in. And to your end, hey, we've got to fight for it. We've got to make sure that any affordable housing coming online is in fact reflective of the incomes in the neighborhood. We had the Phipps development here in Sunnyside, a development that I opposed for several reasons, one of which is because the folks who live in the Phipps Garden apartments said it is not affordable. It is not truly affordable for the people who live in and around the Phipps Garden apartments and in this community. So I took 10 different Daily News editorials on the chin because I stood up for more and deep and more meaningful affordability for this community and listened to the folks in the Phipps Garden apartments about that. We've got to do that much more, and we've got to reform that lottery system that you just asked about because it is not working for the majority of people in the city.
The chronic shortage of affordable housing in Queens. You look at the lotteries, the rent levels are high, income bands are too high. What can we do to reduce these levels and make the lotteries more accessible?
So I think number one, we look at our own city property. There's a piece of property in Astoria that I identified that I was able to shepherd through to make sure that it's going to become 150 units of senior affordable housing, because there are 22,000 seniors in Western Queens tonight who are going to sleep on a waiting list. Not just for senior affordable housing, and that's low income, so 0 to 50 AMI on the top. I mean, someone living on Social Security having the opportunity to get those apartments. We need to identify our city property. Then, when there is a ULURP application, the New York Code told me a greedy progressive in 2014, fighting for, at that time, which was the largest set aside of senior affordable housing in the city. At that moment, in 2014, before MIH. Again, making sure we have income bands that reflect our community. Now, as the lottery goes, we need to make sure we fight, the whole thing on AMI and how it's determined often includes Westchester and Long Island. The Hamptons are playing a role in what our affordable housing is. We need to support our state partners, Mike Canaris and Brian Barnwell, who have a bill to change that as well. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm running a grassroots campaign for Queens Borough president. When I was a council member and when I ran to be elected, I was not one that seeked funds from real estate developers. This you could see by prior year filings. As for any candidate up here, you can't just wake up as a political leader 10 or 15 years into your career and say, I don't take funds from real estate anymore. When it comes to affordable housing in Queens, we don't get our fair share. We don't get our fair share of a lot of things here in Queens, but we're about 27% of the city's total population. Our affordable housing budget is less than 10%. That's this year, that's last year, that's for the past generation. Our infrastructure needs have not met our growth. We're a borough of 2.4 million people. And when our planners put the real planners who have forgotten to fight for our fair share, who have not brought back the resources as it relates to affordable housing, and that has to change. It has to stop here.
Thank you.
So affordable housing, as we can see, you can ask for, as the Borough President, Queens Borough President, ask for an immediate moratorium on all the luxury buildings that are being built. We need to ensure that before they start building, they've done a feasibility study to see what the strain on the local resources are going to be. The infrastructure that should have been put in place. When we talk about affordable, it needs to be affordable to the community where it's being built in, not with Manhattan standards or anybody else. Affordable needs to be built. It's necessary. When we talk about affordable housing, again, we need to look at all these developments that are going on now. Again, why some electors will say, not in my district, but they signed off on the selling of all the other districts of Queens. Right? So while they didn't do it in their own backyard, they actually sold off the rest of your neighborhoods and said that they allow these buildings. They all had to sign and approve them. So keep that in mind when they say not now, they have to. That's their history. When we talk about affordable housing, it has to be affordable for the community in which it's being built.
Two things. One, on the lottery, I got to tell you, I'm not that familiar with that, and I'll get back to you on that if you want. On affordable housing, when I went with my son, he moved out about a year ago. He moved down into Astoria. And we're looking for apartments, and we're looking from the Long Island City end down into Astoria. And when we were talking to the landlords to rent a particular apartment, they said that the rents were starting to go down in Astoria because of all the new construction that is coming in. They were competing with brand new buildings that were much better, and the rent that he was paying was actually less than they were paying in the large buildings, and the rent was coming down. I think what we have to do is more construction, more apartments will bring the rents down overall. And I have just one quick thing, a question with Mr. Bramer. Mentioned me in the last answer about diversity on the community planning boards. My point on saying that I would appoint people based on excellence and quality was not to say that I wouldn't increase diversity on the boards doing that. What happens with the boards is that as you have new communities coming into new areas in Queens, Those people get involved in the community at a much later date than the people who have been there established. And as they become more involved in the community, they will get appointed to the community planning board as a matter of right and as a matter of excellence. And it won't be done by quota, it won't be done by bean counting, it will be done by moving people into those positions because they earned it, and they deserve it, and they serve the community. That was the purpose of my answer.
Thank you. Now we'll pass all the rhetoric. I'm very proud to have been the former chair of the zoning committee, and when the mayor actually tried to shepherd in mandatory inclusionary housing, I worked very hard to make sure the deep affordability option 1, was enacted in that specific plan. I'm also happy to be the only candidate on this state that has actually shepherded in close to 6,000 units of true affordable housing. The first project in the city done under Sarah, which enabled us to move 150 homeless seniors into a building, and also seniors earning under $30,000 happened in my district. We just shepherded in close to another 4,000 units, all under construction right now in my district. We also pushed and passed legislation to actually enable the city to now enact community land trusts in New York City. That's work that we did. But it's not just about the housing, it's about ensuring that we're building communities. We actually ensure that in the last development that we just approved a few weeks ago, that there will be a community center, 200,000 square feet of retail. We're also building a $40 million library, $200 million in park money. And lastly, it's not about just ensuring we're building new developments, it's ensuring that we're fixing the public housing in our communities as well. And I'm happy to say that we are spending over $1 billion in my district in public housing. Thank you.
So we are now going to have more fun than we're already having. We're going to take this, and we're asking each of you to pick a candidate's name out of the hat, and you can address a question. Was that a moan? You can address a question to whatever candidate you have picked. You can't say
That's fine. Ask yourself a question.
Why am I here?
Exactly.
No, it's not me. That's funny.
Yeah.
Give a microphone? Oh, yeah. We got two. All right, here we go. So, Councilmember Bramer.
We haven't had a climate change question yet, which, much like in the presidential debates on TV, we need to make sure we're talking a little bit more about climate change. So I'm going to ask you, what are 3 concrete things that you would do as borough president to combat the urgency of climate change?
Thank you very much for that question, Councilor Constantinides. And I can feel the excitement in them already, Christian. This is just lightning fun. Number 1, I believe in clean renewable energy. We should have solar panels over every single public building in Queens, in the city of New York. That is the way of the future. Number 1, first thing, solar energy everywhere. Electric buses. We need to have better bus service, more bus service, and electric buses. And third, I firmly believe that we need to end the car culture, more protected bike lanes. That's good for the environment, good for people of this city.
Okay, I'm up now, and my question is for Costa. So I'll keep it with climate change, since I admire Costa greatly for his leadership on the environment, and I have to say that I've been endorsed by Local 3. I know that we have some Local 3 members. They've been on the forefront of climate change, and while I support a lot of the policies, you said it in your opening speech, and you said time and time again of your plans on Rikers Island. So I guess my question would be that's actually the plan of the commission to close down Rikers Island. Did you know that? They put that plan together a few years ago, and I would just say, when you say it, can you say, I support that commission's plan to do all that on Rikers Island, to make it an island that will be one of renewable energy, and to move the borough forward in that way?
So yeah, Liz, I appreciate that question. And you know, the Littman's report talked about a lot of options. But after looking at those options, they need to be fleshed out. And I'm proud to have 32 organizations in support of a renewable Rikers plan. Environmental justice groups, environmental organizations, criminal justice organizations, neighborhood organizations who all believe that the vision of Rikers Island should be to right the wrongs of the past and create a renewable future here in the borough of Queens. And when we think about how we do that, I have 3 bills in the council that are going to be heard on January 27th. One that would transfer ownership of the island from DCAS to the Department of Environmental Protection. One to have a renewable energy study, see how much power we can get. I believe we can close the power plants, not too far from here, those plants that were opened 18 years ago without an environmental review. We need to make sure we start righting those wrongs, because all the residents here, 101, 102, 106, have higher than borough asthma rates. So our plan for renewable Rikers, I'm proud to be the lead sponsor of. I'm proud to be fighting for that in the council as borough president. I want to make sure we have a renewable energy renaissance here in Queens that makes that our blueprint to good union jobs, a cleaner renewable future, and a cleaner community. Thank you.
So my question goes to James Quinn, and my question would be the following. How would you ensure the protection of the rights of immigrants against unlawful supervision or unlawful interference by organizations like ICE that are coming into our court system right now, and into public facilities where immigrant communities and minority communities need to have access?
I know that the city does not want ICE on court property. I disagree with that. I've been an assistant DA for 42 years. I've seen people who are undocumented aliens commit crimes over and over again. That doesn't mean they all do, but there are some that do. And under the city's current regulations, I'll give you an example. A defendant is charged with rape. He's an undocumented alien. He gets into Rikers Island. The city cannot and will not observe a detainer from the federal government. That individual will keep on Rikers Island, so he will be released. I think that's wrong. I think that to say that ICE officers are not permitted to go on court property is ridiculous. To arrest people who are charged with crimes, who are here illegally, who have been ordered deported, I think that's ridiculous because it endangers the ICE officers who then have to go and apprehend these people on the streets.
Mr. Quinn, you can ask the question.
That's right, not yet. Where do you stand on the city's plan to reduce the population on Rikers by releasing criminals from Rikers Island in order to build a jail and 2 gardens, which the people in 2 gardens do not want?
On multiple levels, again, we just had a release of close to 900 prisoners, 900 people from Rikers Island, and unfortunately the city did not do what it's supposed to. They released them with a bus pass and a train pass or something, and they gave them a coupon from McDonald's. If we're going to provide the services that are needed and prevent the abuses that are going on, that we need to provide the services and connect them when they come back to our communities. They didn't do that. So we have a system currently where everybody's taking extreme views and they're trying to make it all fail. When there's millions of dollars that are being spent on support organizations across the city that would help the people being released from Rikers Island right now. People should not be on Rikers Island if they have not been convicted of a crime. They should not be held there because the failed. So if they're there, again, we're releasing them back. Again, we just had to release it. There was a failure of the city to connect them to community organizations when they were going back home. So they set the system up on failure, and they sent those individuals back to fail on purpose. That was the city's failure. As the Queensborough president, when they come back to our community, we're going to have all the support programs to ensure that they don't return back and don't go back where they should be, they'll be part of our community and grow with our community again.
Donovan Richards.
Thank you, and I take exception of people being classified as criminals. Are we proud of that 17-year or 18-year-old young man who died because of the hell he faced on Rikers Island was not a criminal? So I just want to address that language so they don't get that. The second, so my question is for Elizabeth Crowley. So obviously Queens is facing a lot of transportation issues. What would your plan, your number one plan to make sure Sunnyside residents have better transportation?
Thank you. And just to also address Rikers Island, I was one of the first elected officials in the city to call out the injustices happening, and I pushed a healthcare provider that was a private healthcare provider off the island because people were literally dying. So I do take offense when people are called criminals on the island, and they haven't been convicted just yet too. Many of the people in this room, if you live in Community Board 2, I've been to Community Board 2 to speak of the QNS plan to put passengers on the Lower Montauk branch of the Long Island Railroad. That runs 9 miles through communities, Long Island City, Blissville, Massac, areas that are, some of the areas in West are considered a transit desert. We have significant amounts of transportation infrastructure here that's not being used to move people. Just moving freight and garbage, basically, for only about an hour out of the day. We need to take advantage of those lines to move our people, because the 7 train, good luck trying to get on the 7 train at 8:30 in the morning if you're going towards Manhattan. Good luck trying to get on the E train. We're operating beyond capacity. There is no greater issue facing the borough right now than access to transit. That's where you find more areas to build affordable housing, to build jobs, and to build opportunity by taking us out of our cars and putting us more on the train.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, this is the first time we've ever asked each other questions. Incredibly polite questions, I have to say. So my question is for Councilmember Richards. I know you're a supporter of what was the Amazon HQ2 deal. I also know you're a supporter of labor. But one of the reasons that I couldn't support that plan is because Amazon came to the council chambers and defiantly said that they would not allow Amazon workers, any of the 700,000 Amazon workers, to organize. Not even allow a union, they wouldn't even allow them to organize. That's a disgrace. So with that in mind, as someone who is a pro-union supporter, shouldn't we and didn't we do the right thing to push back against their anti-union position?
Well, Jimmy, just point out history. You sent 2 letters of support for Amazon. And then you had to change the law automatically when AOC was elected. And then secondly, you endorsed Joe Crowley over AOC. I really know once again to not sign that letter for Amazon originally because I truly do believe in community participation. And when the mayor actually called, the deputy mayor at the time, called to ask me to sign the letter, I refused to sign the letter for that very reason. But that doesn't mean I'm foolish. 25 to 40,000 jobs, and they were union jobs included in that plan. 32 BJ was part of that plan, and so was the building trades. And when you talk to those Queensbridge residents who now have been left on the side of the road, nobody has come back to them with a plan for jobs. And those are people who look like the people in my community. They absolutely did deserve an opportunity for upward mobility. That's the job of leadership, is not to blow it to win. Leadership is sometimes making unpopular decisions, but once again, standing on principle and conviction, not on politics. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have to respond because the truth is, yes, because the truth is, Donovan was at an anti-Amazon rally before he became a pro-Amazon council member and borough president. That is true. You were at City Hall Park with us. You were at the RWDSU rally. The truth is now all of the Amazon lobbyists and the billionaires are funding your campaign for borough president. You're machine back borough president race. So let's be honest. I believe that you shifted, and this race is in fact, you've made it from the beginning of your campaign a proxy on the Amazon HQ2 battle. It's about much more than that, but the truth is, Amazon HQ2, their supporters, Alicia Glenn, the billionaires support you, not me.
Please, Councilman Richards, quickly.
There's been no one who's taken more real estate in his entire career. If you look at Long Island City, and we're talking about gentrification, it is gone. My community is the only affordable bastion left in New York City, and yes, people want to be the winner, so they cut checks. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to have a yes/no round or a lightning round. We'll keep it. So we're going to. There's two quick questions. The first one, though, is to Costa. You're going to answer first. Do you support the Small Business Job Survival Act? Now, to those out there who aren't familiar with it, it's the aim of it's to protect mum and pop stores by providing businesses in good standing with a right to renew their lease. And if the landlord and tenant can't reach an agreement, it goes to arbitration to decide. So Costa, yes or no? Yes, in response to the bill.
Yes, I believe I was a sponsor of the bill.
You withdrew your name.
What?
You withdrew your name from the bill.
I don't remember that.
Okay, no one for yours.
Whoa!
Please.
I don't think I withdrew my name from it.
Okay, I mean, you said yes, so that's fine. Go ahead.
The answer is yes, absolutely. My answer is no in its current form.
No, because we have liquor stores in black communities, and we're not gonna, hold up, I just want to give the explanation. There are some, okay. All right, the answer is no, but I support tax abatement for small businesses.
I wholeheartedly support it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll start with you, Councilman Crowley, or former Councilwoman Crowley. Do you support the BQX that would provide a waterfront connection between Queens and Brooklyn?
I support transportation enhancement. It wouldn't be my first project, but I support it.
Yes or no, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
No. All right, thank you. Now we're going to questions from the audience.
All right, our first question is, and I'm going to say it as we received it. Since the borough president has zero legislative authority and virtually zero authority over agencies controlled by the mayor, how do you plan to make a relatively powerless position into meaningful results for Queens?
Well, that was my question, and I learned in 2000.
You made it. You said it.
I think we'll start with Mr. Crowley.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
No. Yeah.
I don't believe that the borough president's office is a meaningless position in any ways. First, you have real land use decisions, and land use affects how our communities grow. It can really hamper if the wrong decisions are made, the growth of a community. In addition to land use decisions, decisions. The borough president has a budget where the borough president has the ability to invest in capital projects, schools, library, parks. And the borough president is a huge advocate, should be a huge advocate, drawing attention to concerns that need to be addressed. An example, before I mentioned my transit project, and while the rights-of-way may be owned by the MTA or CSX, it was the borough president in the Bronx that was able to work with the governor to get 4 new train stations on Metro North. Mind you, I'll finish with this. Mind you, the Bronx has 30% less overcrowding than Queens, and that train will be coming through Queens, through the Tri-Borough extension, and not stopping in Astoria, and in a part of Astoria that needs more transit. But this project would not be happening if it wasn't for the leadership of the Bronx Borough President.
Besides the committees and the oversight that it has, the voice of being the advocate is absolutely a powerful voice of being an advocate and holding public hearings, where you can bring all those city agencies and all the other people accountable and have public hearings, but the people can hear the entire conversation and have full disclosure about what goes on. That's extremely important. The borough president can be a very effective leader and can also support legal action if it's going against our community, because we currently have some of our communities filing lawsuits against some of the development projects, and the borough president can support those efforts to file those lawsuits to stop those projects. So again, they're not meaningful, they're not meaningless, they're meaningful. And think about the people that it appoints in its community boards and the other committees that it runs. It's going to bring community residents into Borough Hall and empower more voices. Currently, again, that's the challenge that we're currently facing. We don't have the diversity that we're looking for. We don't have the community involvement that should have been there. We don't have the voice that the community needs in all these projects. And that's been a major objection that most people have. They have not been consulted at all with these developments that are being approved by all our other elected officials.
When I was first considering running for borough president, I looked in the city charter to see exactly what the borough president does. It is very largely I won't call it ceremonial, but it's more of an advisory position. They advise the city and the mayor on capital projects in the city that affect Queens. They monitor the provision of services to Queens County. They monitor the performance of contracts in Queens County. But my point is this. I'm running on 2 major issues. One is I'm opposed to closing Rikers and building a jail in 2 Gardens. I'm opposed to the current bail laws that were passed by the state legislature. The people of Queens County did not have a say in either of those 2 items. The bail laws were passed on April Fool's Day as part of a multi-billion-dollar budget, state budget. Rikers Island was passed, the city council, at least 3 of the city councilmen here voted for it to close Rikers, was passed over the objection of the community planning board and the majority of the people of this county. My election would do more to stop the building of Rikers prisons around the city of New York than anything that anybody else could do. My election would do more to change those bail laws than anything.
The borough president's job is to be the defender and the cheerleader of the borough. It absolutely does have some power. $70 million capital budget, $5.5 million expense budget, absolutely has a lot of power. And one of the ways we're going to reshape this office is to make sure that every corner of this borough feels represented. There are too many marginalized communities in Queens who have not gotten their fair share, who have not felt that their voices have been represented at the highest heights. And it's not true that the borough president cannot enact legislation. There are plenty of borough presidents who co-sponsor legislation with city council members as well that are enacted as well. So we have an obligation as the borough president to make sure that we are driving this train in the borough, and absolutely agencies pay attention to what the borough president recommends. So we need to make sure we are getting government in every pocket of this city, of this borough. That means getting out of Borough Hall, making sure that we are doing satellites and community board offices, but absolutely the borough president's voice has a lot of weight in the city of New York. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, this is our 10th debate. They've all been pretty sleepy. Glad Donovan and I just woke this place up a few seconds ago. So with respect to the Borough President's office, look, I don't think anybody would be subjecting themselves to this race if we didn't think it's an important office and that it could be more important. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't support Melinda Katz for Borough President. I think that what we need to do is actually make this a bully pulpit that's actually used, right? The Borough President that's actually speaking up and being a champion of the borough, talking about issues that are difficult to talk about, but championing all of our people, including the undocumented, in this borough, and actually using the staff. There are about 70 people who work at Borough Hall. Imagine if we hired community organizers from communities that would go into communities, not to report back to the Borough President about what's going on, but actually building power, building capacity, and actually raising up the next generation of leaders in this borough. The office could do so much more. We just have to make sure we elect an organizer to make it more.
So the two main roles of the Borough President I talked about before. One is land use. Having an opportunity to weigh in on affordability issues, on union jobs in every ULURP, because we should make sure we have union jobs attached to these land use developments as well. Number two is budget. $40 to $70 million here in city capital. We're talking about $160 to $280 million over a 4-year term. I want to fight climate change by appointing a deputy borough president for sustainability. I want to use that budget to solarize and green roof every city building as I talked about in my opening. I want to make sure we invest in our local schools by getting kids out of trailers, putting science, STEM, and technology in every school in the borough of Queens. Making sure appointing an accessibility coordinator so that we're having all of our public spaces accessible. And then being the county executive will be the 4th largest city in the country at 2.3 million people. So it's coming up with ideas like I talked about this week, that we should have an MTA board member. Putnam County, 98,602 residents have a fourth of a vote. Nassau, Westchester, and Suffolk County have a full vote. State legislature is already talking about this as well. And of course, a diversity and outreach director in our communities having satellite offices. Thank you.
Okay, this is another audience question, and I'll kind of paraphrase it, and it's hard to read handwriting. The city of New York has failed to provide, I guess it's saying it's failed to take care of some of the homeless epidemic. Millions of dollars spent, a variety of programs that have been put forward, yet homelessness continues. How do you plan to deal with this as Queensborough President? That's you, Mr. Miranda, to start.
Again, I served as the director for several city-run, privately owned city-run shelters. How do we deal with the homeless population? It's about providing the services that are needed. No more of these hotels. They need to have real housing. These institutions that were being built, they're supposed to be temporary in their design, and they have now turned into permanent housing, which is never what it was supposed to be. We also have an influx of a number of families that are not even from the borough of Queens, right? So if we're going to have our fair share of shelters, and we do have enough, then all the other boroughs need to share that burden. And if we have families here in Queens, we should keep the families in Queens, in their own neighborhoods, so the kids can go to the same school. We should not be sending families to other boroughs. So part of the social service part of the support that's necessary is that there's no coordinating effort that they're being held accountable for. So that's why you see the situations that we're currently facing in the streets by the shelters. There are homeowners who are very upset. But again, they were never designed for people to be there 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. They were supposed to be temporary. We help them, we build them, and we take them to the next phase of their lives. So that's something that we have to work on collectively. Thank you.
The homeless problem is just going to get worse. And I'll tell you why it's going to get worse. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record. When I went down to a meeting in the mayor's office, and they were talking about Rikers Island and the population of Rikers Island coming down, and somebody said, well, where are all these inmates from Rikers Island going? He said they're going to the homeless shelters. And they're creating all sorts of problems in the homeless shelters. Because a lot of the people that they're releasing from Rikers Island have serious substance abuse issues, and mental health issues. And once they're released from Rikers Island, they are not treated. There's nothing forcing them to go into treatment, nothing forcing them to take their medication. There's nothing compelling them to behave responsibly. And when they're out on the street and they don't have jobs, and they don't have a home, and they don't have a family to support them, and they don't have anybody watching over their health, both mental and physical, they get into problems, and they create problems in the homeless shelters and out on the street. And that's what's happening now in the city of New York. And people of this city have to be careful of what is happening on Rikers Island.
Once again, I take exception on you calling them prison. They are detainees until they are convicted on the other thing I want to say, detainees. The other thing I want to add is, so to your question, we've already done a lot in my district. Once again, looking at all the housing that we are building up, each and every one of those developments coming up, all 7 projects will incorporate homeless families, including we're doing about 150 units for homeless veterans as well. So we have done our fair share, and we're asking everybody else to also do their fair share in the borough as well. I'm happy to also say I just co-sponsored a bill which was shepherded in by Councilmember Salamanca, which now requires 15% of all housing units in any new ULURPs that come up are now required to have 15% homeless families put into them. I have the largest homeless shelter on the East Coast in my district, Saratoga Inn, and the answer to how do we resolve this issue is through building housing, and the problem is we have just not built enough.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Just one minute.
Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing. When I refer to career criminals and criminals being released from Rikers Island, they are detainees. They are people awaiting trial. They're people awaiting various parole hearings or probation hearings. However, we did a study of the people who are going to be released under the new bail laws in my office. And we found that they had an average of 15 prior arrests, with 8 prior misdemeanor convictions, 2 felony convictions, and 3 failures.
Okay, that's enough.
I got to respond because the DA's office was locking up kids from my district over low-level marijuana offenses. In my district 11 in the city, and under no conditions are we going to say each and every one of those black and brown men have 15 convictions under their belt. That is a lie. We're not absolutely not.
All right, first of all, nobody is in Rikers in possession of small amounts of marijuana. That's a myth that's been created and spread around all over the place.
I chair public safety. I oversee the NYPD.
That is absolutely true, Councilman. You know it.
Now it's not true.
Please, Councilman Bramer, go ahead.
First of all, I just want to say, boy, we could do better than Mr. Quinn's vision of Queens and the future of Queens. This is where you are in this race. So just in terms of homelessness, it's an affordable housing crisis, it's a mental health crisis, it's a substance abuse crisis. There are so many people who are struggling, there are so many people in pain. We have to remember first and foremost, this is a human crisis. These are our neighbors, these are people, they deserve to be cared for, not vilified, not thrown away, not tossed aside. If we actually care for our neighbors and try and get them the services that they require, no one should be living on the street. No one really wants to be living under the 7 train right now in this weather. But if we treat this as a human crisis, make the investments in truly affordable housing, transitional housing, supportive housing, and those services, mental health, substance abuse, we can get to the solution without criminalizing people or otherizing the homeless. This is about human beings.
New Yorkers will be homeless. And too often we forget that 40% of that at least are children. Young people who are finding their way in the world under very, very severe circumstances. And that they have the support that they need should be our primary job. So we need to have a vision for building more affordable housing. I was proud to support as well the Raphael Salman bill that would have to set aside 50% homeless. out to my district where there's a little bit of an issue. Support housing for formerly homeless veterans. These were men and women who had gone out and fought for our country and who need the services, the supportive services that they need. As borough president, we need to make sure we're putting more services out there, supporting our young people, supporting those who need help, and ensuring that as elected officials, we don't lose sight of what's really happening, but giving neighborhoods and having a real conversation on how we deal with these issues. Thank you.
We have a real homelessness crisis that has exasperated under Bill de Blasio. It was a bad situation when he became the mayor, and it has become much worse. There are a few businesses and individuals that are getting very, very rich off renting space to the city to house homeless. Believe it or not, you could live in luxury housing in Long Island City for less than what the city is currently paying to house our homeless. So it's throwing money at a problem without a real solution. And what makes matters worse here in Queens is that so many of our families are just trying to hold on. We have about 6,000 people that go homeless, that are currently homeless in our borough. But the fact of the matter is, there are tens of thousands of more families that are doubling up and tripling up and living in conditions that are even worse than homeless shelters because they don't want to go into these terrible shelters that really, and if I just can address what Mr. Quinn said, and then Donovan and Jimmy as well, is that people in Rikers Island, yeah, about 40% of the people in Rikers Island are suffering with mental health needs. We need to build affordable housing that is supportive housing, so that these people don't have to go to Rikers Island to get medicine for the health.
Okay, we're going to move along. Thank you.
This is the last question. How much money are you taking from the real estate industry?
I have none, surprisingly. We have no money from real estate agents whatsoever.
Oh.
Donovan, you're next.
30% of my money came from the real estate industry, 70% comes from the community.
I am proud to not be taking any real estate money in this race and having returned any that we did take. As Donovan said earlier, they're investing in who they think is going to be the winner. Let's not elect borough presidents that way.
I've been proud to give back money from residents and take them on. I've been proud to stand up in a development where I was told to read progressive by the New York Post. We're making sure that this is a people-driven campaign where over 1,000 donors, individual donors. I'm also proud of my Greek heritage. Is there someone who might be a landlord that's of Greek descent? I'm not sure, but I'll say this. This is a people-driven campaign that we're making sure that big real estate developers are not doing this campaign.
As I said earlier with the question that related to democratic organization, when I ran for office the first time and every time, it was just to do better by my community. And I'm running to do better for Queens. When you look at my filing, we have over 2,000, probably come tomorrow, we all have to do a public disclosure. I believe I have over 2,000 contributions. I don't think if
But
even
you're taking any money from real estate, is the question.
not purposely. Look at my filings. No, not like any of the other candidates here on the stage who've been elected, have taken real estate time and time again. As a member of the council that was elected and ran for office time and time again, look at my filings. You'll see, there's no real estate money. It's people and grassroots. And that's what's driving my campaign.
Thank you.
So first I'll say no, and I'll give you another no real estate money, no developer money. And I think that if you all agree, most of these luxury housing are what's causing the displacement of our communities and causing the gentrification of our communities. So when you see people running for office or elected officials taking that money, they are the people who are gentrifying and displacing our communities. We need to hold them accountable and all court and make sure that they accept this type of interest. Because then they're no longer responding to the people's interests, they're responding to the interests of these developers and these millionaires that are giving them the money. We can no longer afford to have that. That's one of the reasons why I decided to run for Borough president. No developer money, people's money, people's support, and people's voices are what we're responsible for. Thank you.
Are you even here? Listen, thank you very much, everybody, for coming along. All candidates to a lot of forums, night after night after night. So we thank you very much for coming here to the Quinn. So thank you, everybody, very much.